Welcome to this HTML video. In the past video, we made a form, and in this video, we're going to style up the form so that it looks more welcoming, so that hopefully our users will want to fill it out. Now, we want to make our forms look nice so our users feel comfortable giving us this information so that it looks professional. And the first thing that we will need to do is align all of these input fields so that they're aligned horizontally, and that'll make the form look a lot better. Now, it might seem that we'd want to use CSS grid to make that happen because we have rows and columns. But I'm actually going to use Flex, and Flex will make it really easy to make this page look nice on a mobile device as well as on a desktop display. Of course, CSS grid could work as well. It's just a little bit more work. And another thing with Flex is it is one directional, but each row we have a div tag for each row, and so really only worried about one direction inside of each one of these div tags. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this row lay out that label and the input inside of it horizontally. And you can see just by selecting the form row and saying display flex that we have all of our elements laid out side by side. They're still not aligned very well, and we can fix that by controlling the size of our labels. And you can see here by having some sort of size that we get all of our text inputs aligned up. Now you can see that our radio buttons and our checkboxes are not playing very nicely with this. So to make sure that we'll have to handle these a little bit differently. So I'm going to go here and change the class on them and call them a check row. Now, also our labels are all the way over here. Maybe we might want to justify them so our labels show up right next to the fields. And we can do that with a text align. Now these are a little bit crowded together right next to the label. If we want a little bit of space in there, a couple of options is one, we can add some margin onto our inputs or some margin onto our labels, or we can do it with Flex and add some gap. And now we got these all lined up. But there are a couple of things that are not lining up really well. And first of all, we got this sign up button, and it's up over here, and most users are going to expect it to come up over here. So what I'll do is I'll add a div tag here so that the submit button can have two elements just like all of our other inputs. And now we have a spacer. Now it's not lining up because the spacer's width isn't the same as all of our labels width. But adding that width there, now we'll get all of these elements lined up. So now let's work on our radio buttons and our checkboxes. And the reason these don't work the same as the rest of them is because the label tag surrounds the input field. So we're going to have to deal with them slightly different, but we still want to use Flex. So what I'll do is just add our check row up here so it can act the same as our other rows. So what I did is I added my check row here, so this display flex applies to both rows. And now we can see that they're actually looking a little bit better, but they're just not aligned right. And what we can do for our gender is add a div tag around it and make it a spacer. And because the spacer has the same width as all of our other labels, it goes ahead and pushes these two over here. And Flex will lay out these two as their natural size, so it actually ends up looking pretty good. We just need to align this text to the right. Now we got our radio button working just great. Now for the checkbox, that's exactly like our sign up button. All we need to do is put in a spacer in front of it. And now it's aligned. Now, once again, the reason why we have to use a different class for these two is we don't want this HTML applying to our labels, or else it will mess up the alignment. But one more thing that we'll want to do is we probably want a little bit of space between each row, and that's pretty easy to do. We can just add a margin of maybe 10 pixels on the top and bottom, and we don't want anything to do with the left and right margin. Now we have all of our fields spaced out. Now there are two other tags that you can use with forms. They're not required, but one of them is called a field set. And you could take the field set and surround some form inputs, and what it does is it puts a box around all of those inputs that are inside of the field set. Now you could have it use this to section off different parts of your form, or you can have the field set contain all of your elements. And with the field set, you can also use a legend. Now you can use the field set and you can add some background color or a box shadow on it. And you can also add a background color and a different font for the legend and add some padding and make it look different. And there's more you can do with that. We can also style up our input fields. We can make them bigger by adding some padding, increase the font size, round the corners a little bit more, and even add a background color. But if you notice, our select box and our comment box are not getting these styles. So we can add the select tag and the text area tag onto those, and we'll get more styling for all of them. But you notice our sign up button is also included in that. Is there a way to exclude it? You can exclude it by adding a not selector on here and then say type equals submit. And what that does is it selects all inputs that are not type submit. That way we don't have to worry about styling up our button. And we can always style up our submit button by just selecting the submit type. Now another thing we can do is change the background color when the input field is in focus. So I've used the colon focus on both the inputs that are not submit tags, the select and the text area, and I change the background color. And then as the user selects each one, the background color changes. Now another thing that we'll have to worry about is how does our form look on a mobile device? And if we shrink this down, we can see that maybe on some mobile devices, the user will have to scroll side to side. So this isn't a very friendly mobile layout. What might be better is if we have a vertical layout where our labels go up above our fields when we're on a mobile device. So what I'll do is I'll add a media query for all devices less than 600 pixels wide. And then I'll add in, for my form row, my check row that are doing the flex. Up here, I'll change the direction so they go into a column. And we could see that now the labels are up above, but now instead of right justifying our labels, it would be nice to left justify them. And we'll also have to left justify the spacer for the gender. And as we go into mobile view, our form changes and we get a nice vertical form with the labels up above. Now the cool thing with this is our sign up button, because we're doing flex, is also a big button on a form, which is what we need for a mobile device. Now we might think that this works great because we put in our media query, but when we try on an iPhone, it's not going to work because we forgot to put in our viewport meta tag. So you might want to search on Google and find the viewport meta tag so that you can copy and paste that into your code. That way your iPhone won't automatically shrink down the page and then make your media queries not work.